It's a rough Sunday morning. This is my fourth video. I've been busy since about 3:30 a.m. 4. We'll say 4 because it's been 2 hours. Just trying to kill time and can't sleep. Might as well do something, right? Ford systems. Ford tractor, Red Tiger. I'm not familiar with the newer Blue Lucas generator systems that they did on the Blue series of Ford tractors from 65 and up, because we usually ended up replacing a lot of Lucas stuff and bypassing and getting rid of that crap. It was too expensive. It worked when it worked, and when it didn't, throw it away. Don't even try. Alice Chalmers had Lucas starters, same thing. Pull it out and toss it. It worked when it worked, but when it quit, get rid of it. Anyway, charging systems. Ford Red Tiger tractors, even going back in. No, I'm not sure about the 8N. I know the Red Tiger series. Overhead valve engines from 53 on up to 64. Those generator systems were all designed to be, most of the 6 volt were designed to be positive ground, and the 12 volt most were negative ground. But it doesn't matter which way you're going. The difference in the Autolite system compared to everyone else that had the Delco systems, the Ford Autolite system on that generator, as the memory serves, I changed mine over to alternator quickly, as soon as possible. The instant I needed a regulator, gone. So there's an A system and a B system. What's the difference? On one system, which I don't remember which is which, and I used to know it right off, but it didn't matter. We were getting rid of them. The one system, the field terminal takes power to create the magnetic field and control the voltage and the amperage output in the generator. And the other one was ground. The power was taken internal. The instant the rotor started to turn, or your armature started to turn, those magnets out there, fields internally were magnets, those iron cores. They were light magnets and would help it produce electricity. When it did, it'd go out through the fields as well into the regulator. Because it's not producing enough electricity, the regulator's grounded. Now the points are closed on that regulator part. Then it goes and builds up electricity until it gets to a certain point when it's producing enough on the other side. Then the cutout relay closes and you're charging. But that's a grounding system. Autolite did it reverse. They put power to the fields, and the fields grounded inside the case. You say, well, that makes it critical for grounding. Well, both of them had the same thing with the brushes and the armature. One was the hot output, and the other one was the ground. So the fields produced the energy through the armature, and the armature ran the power through the brushes. Okay? On the Autolite, the fields ground internally in the unit, and you put power to it from the regulator. So the regulator was connected to the battery, and as soon as you turned the key and everything on, power was trying to go through that field. So the instant you turned that key, it'd fire up, and it actually was a more reliable charge, but it wasn't necessarily a longer lasting unit. So you have power going through there all the time in your field as soon as you turn that key on. Cool, right? Yeah, it was more reliable on startup. If your magnets weren't working perfectly, it didn't matter, because you were building an electrical field the instant you turned the key on. There was one there as soon as the armature started to turn inside the field coils. So that part of it was a better system, but for some reason it wasn't as reliable overall. They had a lot of trouble with those. On my Fords, I loved them, but everything else had Delco. So after a while, your Fords started getting expensive because they were pretty much proprietary. It was just Ford using that system. So how do you test those? Well, same thing. You still have your field magnets and such. You still have your connections, and the same thing. Take your belt off, take the armature and put a jumper lead on it, and your field, put a jumper lead on it. Connect the armature, and it should attempt to motor to some extent. If it doesn't, Then disconnect it, connect your field and your armature, and that should build enough to make the thing motor. You may have to spin it by hand, but you only need to touch your armature if you're going to polarize it for just a few seconds, 1001, 1002, and release it. The reason I like to have it rotor and motor is that for some reason it seems to build a better magnetic field, magnets internally. Don't know why, but that's what it seems to do. We had one where we polarized it 3 times, didn't work, so I bypassed the regulator, and this was a Delco style, grounding the field instead of feeding juice to it. But either way, it was running, I connected the armature and then connected the field, and it took off running full tilt. So the other way around, you're starting this one up, your engine's running, you connect your armature to your battery, hot terminal of course, and then you take some of the hot terminal and jump it over to the field. Just give it a touch and see what it does. And if there's not much of a spark, then you know you're good and everything should be working. And you got your voltmeter hooked up, then connect it to it and see what your output is. That'll give you an idea. But that's the difference between everybody else and the old Ford Red Tiger systems. The field needed juice on the Ford systems, Autolite, and on the Delco systems, the field was grounded. The energy was taken off the output internally and run through. So if your generator didn't put enough out, then you didn't get enough through the field to even get the thing to work. So although we had a lot more trouble with those systems, they were more popular, mainly because of cost. So there you are. Hopefully that'll help some of you out. One is an A circuit, the other is a B. You'll have to look that one up. And what's the difference? The field in one circuit grounds to go to full charge. The field in the other needs battery energy and grounds internal. One grounds external. The Delco system grounds external off the field. The Autolite system is internally grounded and needs power to the field. Hopefully that'll help some of you out. 7 minutes and coming up on 30 seconds. Lord bless and peace out, babe.